Testing, testing. What happened?
L'chaim. As I sit next to Ariber, who gave us this great present in the early 80s to make a Svados base here in the city of Los Angeles. We've been doing it over all these years. Even when I was in Moscow, fighting for the Rebbe Svarim, Ksogim or Feitzim, which on this night of Lechatchila Ariber, we screamed to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We put forth so much effort, so much blood, sweat, and tears, so much Agvas Nefesh for our Rebbe to get the Heilige Svarim, Sabbath Feitzim of our Rebbe released. So we start off by saying L'chaim. Those that are holding the Svarim, please be aware, you're holding a bomb in your hands. The Rebbe says, "Come to Svarim with the Svarim, with Mashiach and Shazam," on a videotape. The world is where it is. We must do everything to bring Mashiach. First and foremost, release to the Svarim, Svarim, and facing. We have to understand. That's the responsibility of every one of us. And on this incredible night of Bezia, this incredible night, we say, the world says, the Gleiche Weg is verstellt, the regular path is closed. Conventional wisdom is to try to click under, to go under, etc., etc., etc. When that fails, then you try to go over. When ich sorg, der Marash says, in the Lechatchila Ariber, that the Eibishter does not put in front of a human being more than he can carry. That the Eibishter knows how we are suffering. Rahman al-Islam with this horrible virus and all of the above. How we are suffering has to take an end. This gives us a world that's completely shut down, a world that has to come to the realization that the Ariber that runs the world, a world where all Jewish men should put on tefillin, where all Jewish women and girls should light Shabbos candles, but we should bring about more strength and more power to our mission. Do what you could do to bring Mashiach. That's what we have to do. And all of this is going to come to an end. At that time, when the Rebbe gave us this great gift, it was after the fire in 1980, which was starting to rebuild the building, and we made it Farbrengen. It lives in my memory forever. We have never missed anything since then. So the Ariber is the help from Mr. Hashem. We're going to go to Lechatchila, Ariber and Ariber. God gives us the courage to do what we have to do. He would not just hurt us like this. We got to be aware. Just as the Haftorah of today, Sosayim So'edim B'Shekel, famous story of the misfits, the Katli Ramuna, Yechazi Obana, they were seated outside the city of Sherman. And they said, what are we going to do? It's a city under siege. We have nothing left to eat here. And they were outside of the city because they were lepers. Go to the city, we'll die. Why don't we just go and throw ourselves at the mercy? Doesn't it sound right? In this world we live in, throw ourselves at the mercy of the elements. If they let us live, we'll live. What happens? They come to the first place, it's empty. Grab the food, hurry up, eat. Hide the valuables, etc., etc., etc. Till it comes to the point. They said, we better come back to the city to tell people. The king, who should have believed but didn't believe, that this is the nevuah of Sosayim, So'edim B'Shekel, Ko'eis Moch at this time. And that's what it was. We have the Haftorah. Sosayim, So'edim B'Shekel. We have that promise taught us the angel also can bring Mashiach. Do what you can do, bring Mashiach. But Simcha has to be with happiness, with the knowledge that the heaven would never ever forsake us, with the knowledge that the heaven is waiting just for one more mitzvah, one more deed. And then he's going to come and take us all out of Golos. L'chaim el-ruch. Speaking of which, of great emunah, a great simcha, a great bitachon. It's my privilege and my honor to introduce to you Harav Shochat. Harav Shochat, who came at the Rebbe's request to be able to create a Moshe Chinuch here on the West Coast. Give him your attention. He will lift you and lift all of us. Ladies and gentlemen, Rabbi Shochat.
We're living in a terrible time. Just now got another psura, not good, the shliach of Germany, only 43 years old, in Hanover, all of us showing because of this machla, Benjamin Wolf, and Fege. And the Rebbe should already say, die the kultur Reseinu. We are in a Yom Skula today, based here, where the Rebbe pushed the Ariber from the Rebbe Marash, Lechatchila Ariber, and that's the way we have to go about things. Not to let us be pulled down, not to let us be knocked down in any way, shape, or form, no matter how hard the going seems to be, no matter what we seem to be surrounded with. We have to know that we're going with the koyach of the Eibishter, we're going with the koyach of the Rebbe, that doesn't have any of these limitations, and the more we connect ourselves to that, the more we'll be able to overcome. We couldn't spoke about the Haftarah, the usual Haftarah of Parshas Mitzvah. There's also the usual Haftarah of Parshas Tazriah, where also speaks about a miracle from Elisha. That and over there in that Haftarah, there's two statements that are very, very connected. The enemies captured a little girl from Eretz Yisrael. And she was a maid in the house of the big general of the Ammonim, Naaman. And Naaman had tzaras, and he couldn't find any healing for this tzaras. So this girl said that in Eretz Yisrael there is somebody that is able to heal him. So Naaman went to the king of Aram and told him that he heard that there was somebody healed, so please write to the king of Eretz Yisrael, which was Achov, that you're sending him me, and that he should heal me, that he should make sure that I'll be healed. So the king of Aram sent this letter to Achov, and Achov, when he got the letter, he tore his clothes. He said, this is just an excuse to make war, because how is it possible to heal tzaras? It's impossible to heal tzaras. And Elisha heard that the king, Elisha Hanovi heard that the king tore his clothes. So he said, why did you tear your clothes? Where is his emunah? Write a letter that they should come here, and with God's help, I'm going to heal, and they will see Yesh Novi B'Yisrael. So this statement, the Yesh Novi B'Yisrael, which is a similar statement that the Rebbe wrote to the Anash in Paris, they should see the Yesh Rebbe B'Yisrael. The Gabi the Maimed at that time, the Gabi the two Pu'ulis with the Hamoin Am. So this is a statement, Yesh Novi B'Yisrael. And who brought about this thing that there's a Muna Pshuta by a Goy, by an enemy, by a stranger Yisrael, that was a little girl that was captured, and that she was brought up as a shift maid in the Goyish home. Instead of being bitter, instead of just bemoaning her sad fate, she spread whatever she could spread. And that she said with such an emunah pshuta, that there is in Eretz Yisrael, there is a Navi Hashem that can deal and heal with it. So she said it in such a way that even the Goy accepted with the pshitas, that he was able to even affect the king of Aram, that he also accepted with the pshitas that he said. But then when Elisha said that and Naaman came, so Elisha told him to go and dip 7 times in the river of Yarden. When Naaman heard that, he got all angry. He said, the river of the Yarden, the waters of the Yarden, we have much better waters in my country, much clearer waters so what, there's no purpose in doing this. And he got all angry until his servants told him, what do you have to lose? This person that that he should heal, just listen to what he said. And so he went and he listened to Elisha, and he dipped in the Yarden 7 times, and his tsuras disappeared. And then he accepted that, he realized that there is only one Eibishter, there's no other power in the world, etc. And he said that he's only going to serve the Eibishter as the Haftarah goes on. So the Mefarshim explained why was Naaman originally angry? Because he thought if a Novi, since according to nature it's impossible to heal, so Elisha has to do something supernatural. He has to wave his hand, he has to say something, he has to bring down a fire from heaven to heal him, he has to do something supernatural. And he didn't realize that the Eibishter, just like he's a balabos, in the L'mayla min hateva, in higher than nature, he's the balabos in nature itself. And these Mei Yarden, even though they're not the most superior waters in the world, if the Eibishter wants, so the Mei Yarden can heal this tsaras. The same thing is applying to our. We think that now some kind of a fire has to come down from heaven to stop this plague. The only way Mashiach can come is if something supernatural is going to happen, etc. We have to understand. Shmoya mezevach teiv. Let's not go according to our rikshim. Let's not go according to our seichel. Let's go to Lechatchila Ariber. The Eibishter is the balabos over everything, not only of the supernatural, but also of the natural. And Teva itself is a vessel to which the Eibishter works in this world. And just like the Eibishter can perform miracles in L'mayla min hateva, he can perform miracles in Teva. And there is no limitations. It's Lechatchila Ariber. You don't have any of these limitations. So that the Eibishter helped in the schus of this day of the Lechatchila Ariber, that we should already see how the Eibishter turns everything around, and that we should be zeicher to the Gula Shleima B'Korev Mamish. We should have followed the heroes, the Novi Yisrael of our generation, the Novi Yisrael of our generation, who followed the heroes that the Rebbe gave us, and that that by following these heroes that the Rebbe gave us, whether we understand them or we don't understand them, whether we understand how they're going to work or we don't understand how they're going to work, that's exactly what we're being taught in this Haftarah, that it's not up to us to understand. We have to follow and we have to listen. Listening is worth more than anything else. And we have to do with a pshitas and with a simcha shemitzvah, that we were zeicher to have the Rebbe, that we were zeicher to hear the heroes of the Rebbe, that we are zeicher to have the heroes, and that Yetir Me'B'Chayehu, he still is following us and strengthening us. And if we only do what we have to do, so we're zeicher to see the Yeshua B'Korev Mamish.
Thank you, Arav Shochet. What Rosh Hashiva said. Yesh Rebbe B'Yisrael. This was the story of this Lechatchila Ariber that was tied to the great Atzola of the Rebbe, right here of us on the West Coast, so many and so many years ago. So many and so many years ago. This was where the Rebbe says, what type of empty vessels from the Haftorah of Yishu Achas, also the story of Elisha, who ran to Elisha to say, Avdcha Mace, my husband has died. What should I do? He gave all of his money to hide away to Bnei Hanavim. And now, he died. He told me to come to you. I'm coming to you. My Yashvach, my boys, what do you have? She answers, a wee bit of oil. And the Navi tells her, go borrow empty pots and pans from all of your neighbors. Close the door behind you. Sit and pour the oil. Sit and pour the oil. The little drop of oil, pour it. Sit and pour the oil. And when you sit and you pour the oil, then all the vessels will be filled. It was. That's what happened. She went back to the Navi, to the prophet. Elisha says, go sell the shemen. So you and your children will live till Mashiach comes, with what's ever left. That was the bracha, that is the bracha that the Rebbe gives us here in this Farbrengen on the West Coast. Yes, Rebbe be Yisrael. If you think the Rebbe made such a promise in vain, no sir. Yes, Rebbe be Yisrael. All we have to do is make the kelim rekim, the empty vessels, for the miracle. Like the Rebbe's miraculous story with Amin Weinberg, Chaya Weinberg, Galea Shalom, and the ultimate gift of $21 million of so many years ago. A Yom Mele in Skarim Benasim. The biggest gift we want is Moshiach. The biggest month we want, the biggest miracle we want is the health. The biggest miracle that we want is everything that the Rebbe promises shall come to be. For this you need Shluchim. And Baruch Hashem on the West Coast, we're adding dozens and dozens of Shluchim. Dozens and dozens of Shluchim. We have a wonderful young Shliach from Northern California, Rabbi Chaim Zaklis, who is now going to talk to us. And you'll see a young person who knows, yes, Rebbe be Israel. Rabbi Zaklis.
When I asked Rabbi Kunin what I should talk about, he said that I should give a story of Lechatchila Ariber. So just a few hours after that, we had an interesting event that happened that I would like to share, and I would like to especially dedicate it to a shliach who passed away from Detroit, Rabbi Moshe Zaklakovsky, Moshe ben David Henach Zaklakovsky, who passed away from this cursed machla. Last week, a member in our area, a Yid in our area, a Ger Tzedek, passed away. And he left no Jewish relatives, and he was basically alone. And for various reasons, he wasn't qualified to be able to be buried in a Jewish cemetery for free. Even though he was considered a Meis Mitzvah in our terms, but because he had the ability to be buried in a veteran cemetery, so they would not qualify him to be able to get funding for it. So myself, together with Rabbi Tenenbaum, got onto a phone and we spoke to a few Rabbanim, and it was okay, al pi halacha, but we decided to go with the Hayra of Lechatchila Ariber, and we took upon ourselves the responsibility of making sure that this person would have a Kever Yisrael. The amount was much more than what we were able to handle. It was close to $10,000, but Lechatchila Ariber, we went and jumped into it. So a few hours after Rabbi Kunin's call to me, I happened to be on a phone in a tremendous hashgacha pratis of somebody in the area who called for Shabbos food. And when he finished the call about the Shabbos food, he asked me, Rabbi Zaklos, what does it cost? And this itself was just a Lechatchila Ariber attitude. I said to him, the cost of the Shabbos food is on the house, but I would like to ask you a favor. There's somebody who needs Kvuras Yisrael, and we've just taken upon ourselves the responsibility of paying for it. It's close to $10,000. Would you be able to participate? And right there, he pledged immediately close to half the price, which was another act of complete Lechatchila Ariber. So I have no doubt that Baruch Hashem, this person, we were able to stop the burial in a non-Jewish cemetery, and Mirz Hashem, he's going to be buried in a Kever Yisrael tomorrow, together with Rabbi myself and Rabbi Tenenbaum together. But this was definitely an act of Lechatchila Ariber in my Shluchis, which
I can't hear anything.
been from the beginning things that have transpired. Rabbi couldn't ask me to share some words, so I'll just share a few thoughts that comes to mind, especially in this current matziv. The beginning of my shluchus comes to mind. We're in a very small town, a very small Jewish community. It numbers just a few hundred Jews. And at the time, obviously, there were the naysayers, the people who were discouraging it. But something that stuck in my mind, which comes to mind again now, is the fact that Chassidus tells us, Shem sheyesh lekeich bebilti bagvul, kach yesh lekeich begvul. And there's ein tov b'lei rav, ein rav b'lei tov. In every situation, there's the positive and the negative, and there's no place that's not malei chol haaretz kvedei. So there's some benefits that you have when you're in a small town. One of them is that the people who are there, since there isn't the commotion of life, it's not the fast pace of life, you have their attention. You have their attention. So since we're coming out of Chof Ches Nissen, which is Tut Al Tvasser Kent, and bringing the Eidos to Toyu and Kalim to Tikkun, so the one thing that we do have, Shem Sheish Lekeich Bebilti B'Gvul in our regular shlichus, Kach Yesh Lekeich B'Gvul is in our day-to-day life right now. What we have the opportunity in our homes and devoting ourselves to the chinuch of our kids. We're Meya Shana from the Rebbe Rashab from Beis Nissen, who started Timchet Mimim, which is the idea of Chayol Beis David in our day and age. This is chinuch al Taras HaKodesh, and something that we can practically do now in a very, very intense sense, in the same way that we were able to devote ourselves to a local small Jewish community, is simply because we have the doors locked and we're stuck in our homes, we have the attention of our children. Just like the way I felt it, that one of the benefits of being in a small town and just so few Jews is that every Jew, you take them and you hold them with such devotion, you cherish them so much, and every person that you're involved with, they listen to you so much more. You have their focus, you have their attention. Right now, we have the attention of our children, and we have an opportunity to bring them with us. So if we are told always that we're supposed to involve our kids in our shlichus, that the best way of being able to educate your kids in the days when things weren't locked up, we always were taught that bring them and get them involved in our shlichus. Make sure that they know what you're doing in the hafotza, and make sure that they take up an active role as well. Well, today, maybe the Rebbe is giving us an opportunity that not only should we get them involved in our hafotza, but maybe we have an opportunity now to get them involved in our Avedas Atzmai. You know, just lately there was a Pirsum Rishon of you're able to hear a recording of a Yechidus where the Rebbe, you hear one of the Shluchim, I believe it's the Shliach to Madrid, Rabbi Goldstein, who's in Yechidus. You're able to feel yourself in Yechidus, and the Rebbe tells him that the Nekuda Ikris of Shlichus is Sahadav and Chassidische Kinder. If today, from Eidos to Toyo, bringing in the Kalim that he couldn't possibly, it's in the area of our opportunity to raise our kids al Taras HaKedesh. You know, always we can convince ourselves that maybe there are other people who are also involved in the chinuch of our kids. Now, the Eibishter is giving us an opportunity that we are the only deciders in our kids' chinuch. And if begashmis, we have to make sure that everything that comes from the outside, we sterilize it because of the virus. How much more so in inyanim of chinuch, now is an opportunity to really shut out and raise our kids in the Eifin of Taras HaKedesh and making sure that whatever comes into our home is Roi Lishmai, and bringing them involved in our Avedas Atzmei, perhaps in the area of davening together, and beautifully you can sing some of the camp songs that you have learned that bring out some of the deepest feelings of a Chassid's Rebbe, and everything else that you've always felt on your heart that maybe because of the outside hafatza you weren't able to express yourself completely with your kids. Now we have an opportunity to do it. Also, al derech, the idea of saying kapitel kufyates, which if you can involve your kids in it as well. We have the recording of kufyates. The kids getting involved, they love it. It's an unbelievable opportunity to sit with them, and you have their full attention. And just like the way we felt in our shlichus, that in a small town, when you have their full focus, they appreciate every little thing that you do. Maybe in a big city, they wouldn't think of it much. But here, because you're the only person in town, they appreciate it so much. You'll see how your kids will really, really appreciate every little thing that you do. So in Kalim the Tikkun, what I'm suggesting is that focusing more on the Nekuda Ikris, the Rebbe says, Tutal Tzvasser Kent, and what's the one thing maybe that's missing is Lahachines Atzmei. We already in the whole world. Now we have an opportunity, Lahachines Atzmei, that's called B'nai Beisei, that our houses should be ready, that when the Rebbe comes in, like the story Rabbi Shvei just passed away Friday, the famous story that he was ready for his mother when she came off the train, because he knew that at any moment, the Rebbe can walk into your door, and that the Rebbe should be able to say, Re'u Gidulim Shegidalnu.
Thank you very much, Rabbi Zachlis. And I'd like to point out something very important that we just heard. That is to involve the children. We know now that we can reach so many people with the various technologies that we have. So many people we could reach. And to involve the children. Now listen to this. What if a little Megala is on the Zoom to with her mother, is on the Zoom to another woman in your community? You have to stay in touch with them. And the Megala says, could you please light the Shabbos candles like my mother is going to tell you how to do? Or little Ingela, so you're involving them in it. Little Ingela saying, hi, Sammy. So good to see you. And last time when I saw you, it was so wonderful. I still remember this little Ingela saying, could you put on film for me today? I know you have a set. My tati's going to help you do it on the Zoom. That way, we involve the children, and we involve the children together with the folks of your small town or your big town all at once. There's another message to all the Shluchim watching this tonight. You see how in a small city we cannot sleep. That's what we are going to do. We are doing it already. That's what we are going to continue doing. Now we have to bring simcha into all of this. In order to bring simcha to all of this, how could we not have some a cappella, as they call it, songs to lift all of us?
Nice.
From the Rabbi, Begunchikis, the young Beguns, please lead us with simcha, ma'ayineklach, and simcha, emuna, and bitoch. It is now my pleasure to introduce to you the director and very, very special shliach of the whole surrounding areas of Simcha Diego, Rav Yonah Pratt.
A good gebenchte Woche, Teire Shluchim, a good Chodesh, and a good gebenchte Jahr. In the schus of Beis Ear, as the Rebbe brings down so beautifully in his Sichos, why is this Lechatchila Ariber? Because Beis Ear brings inside from the month of Nisan, of Pesach, which is Daalik, which we jump over, Ariber, and Sai from the month of Iyar, which is special from all the different months of the year, because every single day we make a bracha. In the schus, this tremendous schus of Beis Iyar, Lechatchila Ariber, Una Ariber, may the Eibishter bless each and every one of us and all the mishpachas that we should see this terrible gezerah should be over for once and for all. Rabbi Kunis Farbrengen of Beis Iyar is something that we have had for many, many years. As being a shliach in California, we have a special schus that we know our motto is Lechatchila Ariber. As you've heard from several shluchim already, what they do is done in an oifen that we know that there's the simple, the average, the regular, that a regular Jew can do, or a regular rabbi can do. The koyach that we as Chabad shluchim have is that we have the idea of Lechatchila Ariber. We have the Rebbe with us. We know that we can accomplish amazing things. A simple concept. Someone tells you, Lechatchila Ariber, spring, jump. How far can you jump? The younger shluchim maybe can jump higher than the older shluchim. But they say 2 feet, I'll jump 2 feet. Jump 4 feet, I'll jump 4 feet. 6 feet, I don't know. 100 feet, how can I jump 100 feet? We as shluchim are connected to the Rebbe, and if we have to jump those 100 feet, the Rebbe picks us up to those 100 feet so we can get over to the other side. And as long as we know that, and as long as we're convinced of that, and as long as that's the way we do our shlichus, there's no question that we're going to be able to accomplish anything that you can imagine. So I just thought that I would share one of those original Lechatchila Ariber stories. When Rabbi Kunin was fortunate enough and he received this beautiful gift of $21 million, the Nest from the Rebbe, before that, several Chabad houses, and mine was one of the Chabad houses, it was Zeiche, Chabad on Montezuma Road, had a big sign on it, foreclosure. It's closed, the banks are taking it away, it's not going to be there. Now you could ask Rabbi Kunin, all of us who had those signs on our Chabad houses, did we ever dream for a second that those Chabad houses would be lost? There was no question. With the sign on the door, with people coming by, with all these things, it was going to be saved beyond any question. So during that time, unfortunately, as we know, one of the biggest nisyonos we have, and it should be nothing worse than that, is money. And we had a problem that we weren't able to pay some of our taxes. And this short little lady with a cross at Salem, half as big as her, comes marching into my office. She had to pass by Mary Greenbaum, and as you know, not easy to pass by Mary. Her Shluchim should be with us. Very strong New York lady who was our administrator and secretary. She comes in and she looks and says, Rabbi, I see that you have a sign on your door, and it shows that this place is going to be foreclosed. I want to tell you something. Before the foreclosure comes up to be, I want to let you know, you owe us, I think it was $68,000. I've closed down other synagogues, and I'm going to close you down. In the meanwhile, this big Salem is juggling in front of me, a French lady. One thing everyone should know, you have to be very careful. Don't ever throw out an IRS agent. It's not a good thing to do. Number two, if you thrash someone and you tell them something, you have to have something behind you to know that you'll be able to succeed. Just to throw them out and not have anything behind you, we're in trouble. So I said something that, and none of you should say either, I hope, that this person, I said, you know what, you're an anti-Semite. You're here telling me things that are impossible to happen. And I would really suggest you pick yourself up and you get out of here. Why did we say that? Because we know we have a Rebbe with us. And we know that this lady came in Taka as an anti-Semite. You're coming into a rabbi. I've closed other shuls, wearing this big tzelem, etc. You know, a bissel derech eretz. Van Meiset for the Rebbe, for a shul, she had to have. So we threw her out of our office. And of course, just as the sign of foreclosure came off, her supervisor, when we went together with our attorney, went ahead and made sure that she doesn't work for the IRS anymore. Lechatchila Ariber, but where do we have the chutzpah to do it? Because we see our head shliach, the type of way that he deals with, we know that the Rebbe is there with us point after point after point. Now, on a more of a ruchnius dikaif, and I'd like to share one other short story. When I first came to the Ego, there was a certain balabas, and he would say to me all the time, you know what? I like you guys at Chabad, but Lubavitch, those guys go around with these tefillin and they're getting everyone and they're doing all, I just don't like it. They're so pushy, etc. And I said to him, look, I am Chabad, but we're also Lubavitch. But you know what? Maybe I could explain to you why. And Baruch Hashem, after a little while, he decided you're not pushy, you're nice people, and I'm going to start putting on tefillin every day. So I called him up on Friday, as I call many people, say, how are you doing? He says, fine. I said, tell me something. I'm sure after all these years, you're still putting on tefillin every day. So he says to me, because I spoke to him a few weeks ago, he said, yes. He says, I'll tell you the truth. He says, today I didn't put on tefillin. I said, I'll tell you why. He says, a dear friend of mine called me up that he got Yena Machli came back to him. And I said to him, you've got to put on tefillin. He says, but I don't have tefillin. He says, and what's so important? He says, I'm telling you, I'm doing it for all these years. It's the best thing I've ever done. And he said, and I'm sorry to say, Rabbi Fratkin, but I took those beautiful tefillin you gave me, I brought it over to him right away, and now he's going to put on tefillin every day. And Baruch Hashem, we went ahead and made sure that this person should have tefillin as well. So, Taira Shluchim, Lechatchila Ariber is our motto. It's a terrible time, terrible things happening. Yet, on the other hand, the Rebishter's got a good, the Rebbe is going to take care of each and every one of us. May the Rebishter help that today, Lechatchila Ariber, to jump over, just like on Pesach, everything jumped over. And Ir is Ani Hashem Refecha. May we see the Rebishter's brachas through and through and through and through. May Mashiach come before like Baimer when we're arranging all kinds of driving, people to drive in parades, etc. May we be able to do it in Yerushalayim Erakedesh, Yabana Beis Hamikdash, from Herav Yameinu, Amen. L'chaim, l'chaim.
These stories repeat. You heard from Rabbi Farbrengen the beautiful story of tefillin. These stories repeat themselves again and again and again and again. Tachlis, bottom line, tefillin. Don't be afraid. And don't be afraid when someone comes and says to you, it's over, you guys don't stand a chance. Nothing, nothing is nothing. We're not afraid of anything. Amir HaMarebbe, and our Rebbe is with each and every one of us today, holding our hand, never ever to be left alone. We lost many beautiful people. Like Chavim Motelchein Olav Shalom, whose son is going to speak to us, Shlomi Chaim, later. We lost Rabbi Leibel Gruner. The Rebbe's maskir day and night, night and day, who was with all the Shluchim all the time, helping see what we could do. So I'm going to ask our Eidim, Rabbi Aaron Begun, director of Chabad of Sheviat Hills, a nephew, Rabbi Leibel Gruner, to say some words about Rabbi Gruner. He's working upstairs, taking the tzedakah, putting them together for the Rebbe, taking them to the Rebbe, saying, they can end the discourse immediately now. Rabbi Begun.
Chaim. Gute Woche und a freilichen Lechatchila Ariber. Leil Nishmas, Rabbi Yudel Leib, the Rab Mordechai Avram Mishayo, and all those that were taken away from us. A refuah shlema for all our brothers and sisters. L'chaim. Just a few points. Benagea, Rabbi Gruner has known the maskir of the Rebbe for over 40 years, since the very beginning of the shlich of the Nesios of the Rebbe. He was Ibergem B'Leiv Nefesh. His entire life, he was day and night ready at any time to serve the Rebbe. Ke'avda kamamare le'yomish metoch ha'el. Mitzad Sheni, spending much time with him being at Seudah Shabbos, he's seen that he's like Ayitam Chacham, Yedei Sefer, and he had a tremendous koch in learning. Nigel Chassidus, his Sichas Chulin was always full of teichen. And actually, there's B'shas, the early Tovshin Chavs, the Rebbe actually called him in and gave him a task. Told him, I want you to do the Oros Tzionim of Likutei Torah, Gans Likutei Torah. I want you to take a break from your work and reinlegen Ganzen in the Inyan of making the Oros Tzionim for the entire Likutei Torah, from B'Shalach all the way to the end of Shir Hashirim. So he secluded himself in a room. His wife is to bring him food. And until he finished, relatively in a short time, he was totally involved in this work. That many times I heard from him conversations that he had with the Rebbe, Lifnaim v'Lifnim, in Lenin, in Nigel Chassidus. So you had this combination of two, one hand Kavla Kamamori as an avid, at the same time, he had incredible knowledge in a koch and a geschmack in learning. So jeder sagt, da sein Achayit in a Liboy. So what could we learn? What could we take from this? Number one, the Ibergebkeit zum Reben. Everyone has to add, especially in these days, when there's Chmonas there's Chalishus, the Matzav, everyone has all different excuses. It's not the same. It's difficult. Dafka now, we have to fight with increasing our rotzen to do what the Rebbe wants. Bater Retzoinchom Mipnei Retzoinoi. Parshut, I learned from him in being Gattel Bottle. Our whole life, our whole rotzen should be the Rebbe's rotzen, the Eber's rotzen. At the same time, we should also work in increase our tainug, our geschmack, and our koch, in Lenin, and to do what the Rebbe wants. Learn Nigel Chassidus, Afatzos HaMayonos. These two Inyonim, rotzen and tainug, are keches that are higher from Seichel, which is the Inyan from Lechatchila Ariber. That not only to serve Hashem with a calculated mind, just everything that makes sense and everything al pi Seichel, to go hecher from Seichel and serve Hashem in a form that we give ourselves completely over. Side our rotzen and our geschmack, the whole geschmack is in doing what the Rebbe wants. And this is the two lessons that we can learn from him. This is the way we see the Rebbe when he came to the Sturm de Kesicha Koyach Nissen. Afterwards, after Shabbos Tazir Mitzayra, the Rebbe asked Leib, what is the reaction of the Chassidim? So he said that the abyssal to tumult, they're not sure exactly, the break in their hands to figure out what exactly they're supposed to do. The Rebbe says Klor Gezok in the Sicha, the Shabbos Tazir Mitzayra. And the Rebbe pointed out, Porsche say Meses on the land and in other Sachen. We also know that Rebbe said that Chayishora to bring Mashiach is called Tiferes Loisev, Tiferes Minot, and Rebbe kasher that to the sphere of that day, which was Malchus Shebe Tiferes, and the Rebbe says Malchus, the union from Malchus of Mashiach and Gulu Mashiach, and where should we attach that to? To Inyan from Tiferes, which is Kav Atoira, Mavriach Aticho, and Melakotze Lakotze, the Dafka be bringing it in from Gulu Malchus, and not in an abstract way, Kochenzach Mashiach, an abstract way, but partial to attach that with learning. So Kochenzach and learning Inyan Nigno Chassidus, Inyan Gulu Mashiach. And this is the Inyan of, this is how we see that the Rebbe, Dafka wants us not to just be in an abstract way, everything to bring it down, especially Mekasher and to Kochzach in Lenin. So this is the way we are fighting against this is the Inyan from Taina, through Ratzon and Taina, which is our Keser. We give over to the Eibush our Keser. With that we fight with Rachmanos the Magefa, which is connected to Keser the Lumazeh, and Pasha to be Mevatel in Ganzen, to give us ourselves over. Our Inyan from Keser to be Mevatel in Ganzen. And through that, will be Mevatel that the Inyan from Nega. This Nega should be transformed completely to Einig. The Inyan from Metzoira is on this Galavan, and thus the Ganzen Inyan from Metzoira is no Inyan from Mashiach. And we Inyan from the Tzara should be Mahapech to Tzoyhar. And the Inyan from Badad Yeshiv, which the Rebbe says is the Malyusa. The Inyan from Badad means you isolated, you're on a higher level. And that's why Mashiach is also considered, because the Inyan from Badad, the Malyusa, means he's on a higher level. And this is what we find ourselves in Inyan from Badad, should transform this Badad in a form of Malyusa. That we should be able to elevate ourselves on a higher level. And Yemot, we'll be able to have all the areas from Toihu, which is Metzoira represents, the Rebbe's father writes the Metzoira's Begemat Toihu, which represents the Inyan from Mashiach, to bring down in Tikkun. And the Rebbe Masbin, Tazir Metzoira Nonalav also, that when Rachel Mevakal Boneo, Dafka from the four Ragli Amerikova, Dafka Rachel Mevakal Boneo, Ki Einenu, the Rebbe's Masbin, the Einenu is Beshas the Siluk Eres, and we find ourselves Narifim from Siluk. And then Dafka Rachel Mevakal Boneo is able to be Mamshech Eres Atoyer Bekelim the Tikkun. And we have to be the Rachel Mevakal Boneo, we have to cry our Mosai. And the Rebbe says, Mitanemes. And Yam will be able to be Mamshech the Eres Atoyer Bekelim the Tikkun, will be able to transform completely the matzav that we are now, into the matzah from Lichtigkeit. We should be able to be mamtik the gvuras. And the gvura should bring tikberes achayas. The milo of gvura is that has a strength. We're able to draw down incredible brachas with gvura, tikberes achayas. There should be reifeh cholim, should be matir asurim, there should be biz machaya mesim. And as we see that the Leib is to say many times, "Me will nicht kein Geluim, me will the Rebbe dolamat beine gashmi." So we say take of me at mamish zu sehen sich mit der Rebbe dolamat v'hui golenu l'chaim l'chaim l'chaim.
Thank you, Mom, for the answer.
Thanks, Mommy.
L'chaim, we talk about when Satoyu became the thing. The famous Sikha, the Rebbe said, when you give him listen, how there has to be on Satoyu became the thing. Very, very strong Sikha. And the Rebbe Avtached, that Ariber started, Ariber got to the way they have started, such and such and such. Short while afterwards, I was in 770 for Shabbos. I'm walking up Kingston Avenue. I'm saying to myself, how do we get ourselves into Olam? How do we get ourselves into Olam? How do we manage to make it happen? How do we do this? And I'm walking and walking, and my head's spinning. What am I supposed to do? How do we get into Olam? Well, I approach somebody, and my head's thinking, and you look, all of a sudden the Rebbe is coming. The Rebbe gives a look at me and says, Azeyarai, in Olam HaTikun, you've gone so deeply into the world of Olam HaTikun, So you see, the Rebbe has opposites, coming and going, and everything else along those lines. When we talk about Olam HaTikun and Olam HaToyim, so Baruch Hashem, the Rebbe said when we went and Shlichus told my Rebbe, she should have it for Shlema. All of her efforts on behalf of the Sforim, the Ksovim, the Chveitzim, and all of her tefillas should be a schus for her. Gesundheit, for Shlema, etc., etc. So the Rebbe told us, I'm in God's California. You should liberate. It was the 60s then. So Einam is liberate, not capture. You should liberate all of California. And so we went, and we went all the way up to the top of California, on the inroad, later down on the coastal, all the way down to Diego, etc. Fine. And Baruch Hashem, as you see, we have over 200 centers, 360 Shluchim, Baruch Hashem, all the Rebbe's countries. But one day, I'm at 770, and Rabbi Chotikov was already not that active. He's looking for me. For forever. I have an answer for you from the Rebbe. And why should I give you the answer? I'm going to ask a young man who I walked over. He's young also. Shia Halik, our director in Southern Nevada. I walked to this young man. We'll tell you now the rest of them that settled, was taken literally. Southern Nevada turned it over on its head for the good and brought Lichtigkeit and Warmkeit with the shenste amount of tznius, the nicest amount of tznius, being very, very careful, all the shluchim. Give your attention, please, to Rabbi Shia Halik, who finished our story.
Thank you, Rabbi Kunyan. The story goes back like to 29 years ago. So first I want to say L'chaim to everyone for Bay's ear. Actually, yesterday, when we learned yesterday's Hayom Yom, where it says that the Suda Malava Malka is in everyone's home, I thought about this Malava Malka. A lot of times in Malava Malka, we do get together in the shuls, on the Chabad houses. And this one, everyone is in their home doing what we had from the Hayom Yom from yesterday. So before we go to the story of Rabbi Kunyan, which happened, that was Tafshin Nun at Rosh Hashanah, we could back up a little earlier. A number of years ago, I got the answer. I got a copy of that Rabbi Moshe Kedlarsky wrote a title to the Rebbe on Yud Cheshvan Tafshin Memvav, which is 4 years, about 4 years before, almost 5 years before I moved there. And he writes to the Rebbe, and I have a copy of this title from the Rebbe from that, where he says, I came back from Las Vegas, and he gives a little report. There's 20 to 30,000 Yidden living over there, and there's a couple of shuls, or v'chulu, whatever is going on. And he spoke to some people about the possibility of opening up a Chabad house over there. And he tells the Rebbe, gives the Rebbe 3 choices. I mean, he gives in the title. Number 1, he says, yes, so he says positive, yes, Las Vegas, you do about. He says there's a city that has nothing to do with there's a whole part of the city that's not known for what Las Vegas is about, right? Number 2, so it's a positive. The place where there was one Orthodox shul there isn't any of the hotels, it's a couple of miles away. Number 3, he thinks there's going to be money over there for a shliach. So he didn't ask anyone for a shliach, but he thinks that the shliach could go and work with that shul. So those are 3 reasons why we should open it up. That there's a regular city, there's nothing close to the hotels are not close to the shul, and there'll be some money. On the other hand, he says that it's what the Las Vegas is known for. And he asked the Rebbe, if Shalti Malas has been Yazeh, what should I do? Number 1, he gives 3 suggestions. Number 1, Ulai Kedai Shliach Shom Bizman Lizman Ba'at Kama Shavuos. Should we send a shliach from time to time? They should be working the shul and give to shiurim like Merke Shlichas. And then we will decide whether we should bring a shliach. 2 is to open up a Chabad house there, Liftoyach Nivsham. And 3, to leave it the way it is until now, which it was nothing. The Rebbe did not come out ever let shluchim. So 3 things. So what the Rebbe did in this letter, I have a copy of that over here. The Rebbe underlines the word Litzad Hashlili, he underlines the word negative, and he underlines the word Shema Shem Mefursim She'ir Yadua, what the city is known for, Litzad Hashlila. Then the Rebbe writes, adds like a question mark. He says there is a lot of cities, this is back to Tafshim Memvav, that don't have a shliach. So like, why are you sending over there? I think it is. And then the Rebbe crossed out the word Liftoyach Snif Sham to open up for there. Rebbe, you can see it, crosses it out. And then the Rebbe writes in the bottom and says, if there'll be something Yitzim in Aklal, Levakasham to visit there, but not to be a shliach to the ear. This is what the Rebbe answers. Canal Yud Cheshvan Tafshin Memvav. And the Shabbos before Rosh Hashanah, Tafshin Nun, going on Tafshin Nun Aleph, as Rabbi Kunyan just mentioned, they wrote another settle to the Rebbe because there were some people here in the summer, and the Rebbe answered over there all of a sudden out of the blue, because you needed a shliach that does Lechatchila Ariber, and the answer then to Rabbi Kedlarsky, to Rabbi Chadikov was about Las Vegas. This is almost 5 years later. Kamoy Shad and Yonim to California, like everything else, is you should give this over to Rav Baruch Shlomo Kunyan, he should investigate. Is to do it in Cain, in Lab. Everything is under his achrayas, like everything else in California. And yes, if you remember, that was Shabbos Mevorchim right before Rosh Hashanah. He told my father Friday night, I need to see your son the next day because the answer came out Friday afternoon right before Shabbos. And Shabbos, so you met me downstairs in 770 between Tehillim and Shachas, and you told me the words, I remember that. The Rebbe hit me with a bombshell. The Rebbe said that Las Vegas is under my achrayas. There were 2 Bachurim who were going to go there. Rosh Hashanah was Wednesday night. Thursday, that first year, 2 Bachurim were going to go there and make a minyan because they would work there in the summer. So the Rebbe said, so Rabbi Kunyan said that if the Rebbe said it's under my achrayas, I'm not going to let two Bachrim go there. Are you willing to leave? This was Shabbos mission right after Shabbos and be there for Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. And then the Rebbe says we'll be machlid. And I said, of course. And a day or two later, we left, and you came by and visited, and then Baruch came, and to visit, we had some meetings between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Then after, by Sukkot, we wrote into the Rebbe that we're going to open up a Beis Chabad, and the Rebbe gave strong brachas for that. And a few months later, the day that Rabbi Kunyan, you left to Russia, which was Tes Kislev, around then, I got on a plane. I left Tes Kislev, Tufshin and Aleph is when I came to Las Vegas. So yes, it was challenging to come here, but as we say, I was once interviewed by a national television program, and they wanted to know, it was then Mashiach, about Chabad, and they wanted to know about how am I doing in Las Vegas. I said, you're connected to the Rebbe, we have the Hatzlacha. But then they asked me, what do I envision? So I said, envision, the reason I'm bringing it down, because half of my vision already happened. I said, one day, all the hotels are going to close, and then all these hotels are going to turn into big yeshivas. Why? And there'll be a bunch of yeshiva, because what does a yeshiva need? Yeshiva needs three things. It needs to have a big zal. We can transform all the casinos into zals, so they all have that. A big yeshiva also needs a kitchen, right? They all have big ballrooms, and the yeshiva needs dorms. So, and the hotels have big dorms. So half of that already happened. As you know, all the hotels here are closed. So we're hoping that before they're talking already when they should go into open up. So we hope that the second half of the prediction is whether it's going to be here or all the hotels are going to be transformed. But the idea is that we take what we like to bring the city of light, that we bring the light of Torah, the light of Mitzvah, the light of Hasidus. And I remember hearing the tape of the Sikha from the Rebbe, Yud Beis Tammuz, Tafshin Chafalev, where the Rebbe talks strongly about Shlichus. He said over there, "Vayishlach Moshe l'Ragel es Yazer." Moshe sent the Meraglim then to go to Yazer. But you could do it, and they captured it. And the cities around it. Says the job was just to go to l'Ragel. Then the Rebbe said that a true Meragel, when he understands what the Mashaleich wants with Moshe, the Pnimis HaKavana is to be to Vayilkadur. Likewise, he said that every chassid, every shliach comes to a city over there, the job is to transform it. That we to transform from the tumor for whatever is there to whatever city that you may be, to turn it into something that's a kedusha, which we had what the Meraglim did. So we hope that from this darkness and from these challenges that we all have, which is today's Yom Yom, that every day at the end of the day we have to think about what we accomplished. We have to count every day to make sure that every day what we accomplished, and we have to know that tomorrow we're going to be able to do that's even more, and especially that it's a day of Beis Hillel, Lechatchila, Ariber. And I think perhaps the reason why Rebbe said Las Vegas is under Rabbi Kunyan, because he's the motto of Lechatchila, Ariber, that you need Lechatchila, Ariber to be able to oversee it and to conquer it. So we hope that this is going to be enough to the tzaras and to this epidemic. And we're going to be zoicha that there's going to be, as we have in the Hashem Rafech and and we'll be back together with the Rebbe. We'll bring them nachas of what we have done, help bring this galus. Good to
First name, Abba. Now, Rabbi Halik, thank you so much for your wonderful presentation. So many Chabad houses, mikvahs, building another mikvah, more Shluchim coming. Kids born in Las Vegas, Chassidische Kinder, Shluchim already in Las Vegas as well. And now we shift gears a little bit back to California to a wonderful shliach who's been with us for many years, Rabbi Abba Perlmutter, to give us some words of inspiration of an older class of Shluchim already. Abba, not that old, but an older class. Abba Perlmutter. We'd like to ask Rabbi Mendel Greenberg from the Cheder of the Rebbe's Cheder Menachem in Los Angeles, that has turned over the world of Chinuch, set up a gewaltige Mossad of Chinuch right here in the center of Los Angeles to share a Lechatchila Ariber story that he has, one of many stories. Please share with us.
A good Woche Rabbi Kunyan, a good Woche alle Chassidim, Shluchim, L'chaim. The Rabbi Kunyan says about sharing a story of Lechatchila Ariber. The ganze Cheder B'chlal is doch a ganze Inyan that was established Lechatchila Ariber, and the ganze Kiyum is als Inyan from Lechatchila Ariber. But I want to share a Maisa that actually took place on Motzoi Shabbos Tazria Mitzayra Tovshin Chai, that is recorded in the Zichreines of Reb Heshke Gansberg Olav Sholem, who was involved with Tzach and Crown Heights, printer. And Reb Heshke was a bocher still, I think, in Tovshin Chai, and he writes a letter to his Chavedim. And he says that Shabbos Tazria Mitzayra Tovshin Chai we spent in New Haven, Connecticut. And he writes to his Chavedim the impressions of what took place there in New Haven. And on Motzoi Shabbos they had a Malava Malka. And before the Malava Malka, he says, I had a conversation with Reb David Deitch. Reb David Deitch was a balabos who lived in New Haven, about Stokke, etc., etc. And Reb David tells Reb Heshke Gansberg, I believe Reb Chaim Serbransky was his friend that was with him, that a year and a half ago I was in Yechidus by the Rebbe. And the Rebbe asked of me to do something. He says, it doesn't say what exactly it is that the Rebbe asked him to do, but it was difficult. And then the Rebbe said, "Nu, wirst folgen?" So Reb David responded to the Rebbe and said, "Was heißt folgen? Wir sind doch Soldaten. Is was the Rebbe heißt, that went on." And Reb David described, the way Reb Heshke writes it in his Zechreines, that the Rebbe was nisragish m'teich simcha, and pasha tears of joy came forth from the Rebbe's eyes when he heard these words from Reb David, from Pasha to Chassid, was heißt mir sind doch Soldaten, und als der Rebbe heißt folgt man. Das ist doch der ganze Inyan from the Lechatchila Ariber that we were raised with, the Lechatchila Ariber, that every one of the Rebbe's soldiers stands at the forefront in a manner of Lechatchila Ariber as mir sind der Rebbe Soldaten. And this nekuda of being a soldat from the Rebbe, perhaps we could say in the manner of Moshe Rabbeinu, Toiv Ayin Hu Yevayrach, that Moshe Rabbeinu gave to Klal Yisrael much more than what was expected of him. He gave it everything away to everybody. And by the Rebbe we find that the Rebbe gave everything over to everyone. Certain hanhagis of Beis Harav that the Rebbe shared with all Chassidim. Certain inyonim that were negeya, that were shaykh to older chassidim, and the Rebbe shared it with everybody. Take, for example, the idea of Rabbeinu Tam's tefillin, that in the previous years, it was shaykh to Chidei Skula, and then the Rebbe would write into the Rebbe, and then the Rebbe said, for the Bar Mitzvah, and then the Rebbe said, even by the Nochas tefillin, you start putting it on. This idea of being a soldat from the Rebbe then also gave over even to children. When the Rebbe established Tzivas Hashem, and he said, you don't have to be the biggest chassid in the world to be a soldat for Rebbe. A child under bar mitzvah or bas mitzvah is a member of Tzivas Hashem. And this becomes part and parcel of the chinuch of our children, that by them the idea of doing things l'mayla min hamishur, doing things l'mayla min aderech hatava, doing things Lechatchila Ariber is part of their vernacular. It's a davar apasha by them. I have the opportunity, Mizman Luzman, to have to interact with certain Yidden from the Fruma Oilam, from the Fruma Kreisen, that aren't from Chabad. And I was talking this past summer with Manal of the largest Litvisha Mossad here in town. And he says to me, in Chabad, when it comes to the chinuch, you guys have something over us. He says, it's a lot easier for you because your children have a mission. They have something that they are working towards. There's a strebung, he says to me. There's a mission, they know that they have something that they have to accomplish and they have to achieve. Interessant, as this is something was is Yakiru v'yedu, that when you're dealing with a soldier in Tzivos Hashem, he knows Lechatchila that he has a mission that he has to accomplish and he has to achieve. Lachreina, the Shluchim is going to be in a couple of days. My wife's grandmother, Mrs. Rifkin, Allah Shalom, passed away. During Shiva, there was different stories that were going around about her. David Deitch's sister. Al Koponim, one of the stories that were going around was that when her son, Zelig, who's now a shliach in New Orleans, when he was a bacher, he was chosen to go on shlichus to Melbourne, to Yeshiva Gedela. And the seder then was that you had to have permission from your parents. So when he came to his parents to ask for permission, they said, "Was heißt? Unsere Kinder haben mir doch übergegeben zum Rebbe." We gave our children over to the Rebbe. What's the question? If the Rebbe wants to send them a shlichus, we gave our children over to the Rebbe. So this is something that when it comes to the day of Tiferes Lechatchila Ariber, as Rabbi Zaklis discussed earlier, we have now an opportunity to interact with our children in a manner that we never had the opportunity to do before. We have the opportunity to interact with them on a daily basis. We have the opportunity to connect with them and to infuse in them this spirit of as ze zanen der Rebbe's Kinder, ze belongen zum Rebbe, as ze zanen Soldaten von Rebbe. And this is done through role modeling for them, through learning with them. As Rabbi Begun mentioned earlier, the Sikh of Tazriya Mitzayra Tavshin and Aleph, the Derech HaYeshara is through Limud HaTorah, because Limud HaTorah is the Kav of Tiferes, which is Grad the Oila Adl Keser, yeah? And has Ashpa on Keser. That is the antidote to dealing with the matzah that we find ourselves in. Is Duch Limud HaTorah, specifically Derech HaYeshara, of learning with them, with our children in Yonei Geula Mashiach. And when we learn with our children in Yonei Geula Mashiach, we are again further empowering them to live their lives as Chassidim, as Daf zu sein Soldaten from Rebbe. I just want to conclude with one thought. The Negei of the Matzav in welchem we befinden sich jetzt there, and the idea of Lechatchila Ariber and Amunah and Simcha and Betochen that Rabbi Kunin is always giving over to us. The Shalom HaKadosh says, in regards to this idea of Chizkiyahu HaMelech, it says in the Gemara Sanhedrin that Bikash HaKadosh Baruch Hu lasses Chizkiyahu Mashiach, but the Malachi Asharis came to the Eibusher and said, how could you make him Mashiach if he didn't say Shira for the Nisim that happened? The Rebbe uses this as the idea that we have to always speak about Nisim and talk about them and Farbrengen about them. The question the Shalom HaKadosh asks is, how could you say that Chizkiyahu didn't say Shira? The Navi Yeshaya brings clearly a pasuk in which he speaks about Chizkiyahu HaMelech saying Shira. He says, Michtav Chizkiyahu HaMelech Yehuda, and he says, Hashem lo yishyeini v'leginosi, the Nenagin kol yom mechayenu al beis Hashem. There's a Shira that Chizkiyahu said for the Nisim that happened to him. So how could you say that he didn't say Shira? And the Shalom HaKadosh says that, yes, Chizkiyahu said Shira. But when did Chizkiyahu say Shira? He said Shira after the Nisim happened to him. Noch dem neste geschehen hat gesagt Shira. And the chesaron is that he should have been saying the Shira even before the Nisim happened. Yes, Chizkiyahu had tremendous bitachon, but to a certain point, and he didn't say Shira beforehand. And he says the same idea as Benegeya, what happened by the Yamsuf. It says that the Malachim wanted to say Shira by Kriyas Yamsuf. So the Eibusher said to the Malachim, "My Yodai, Toivim Bayom, Ba'atam Eimnim Shira." Yeah, my creations are drowning in the Yamsuf, and you want to say Shira? So the Shalom HaKadosh says that's exactly the point. That when the Eibusher was saying to the Malachim, now you're saying Shira, after the Nisim are happening, that now that the Nitzriyim are drowning in the Yamsuf, now you're saying Shira. You should have been saying Shira even before, when the Matzav looked bleak, when the Matzav looked like it was difficult and challenging, the Yamsuf is in front of you, and the Mitzrayim are behind you. Lechatchila Ariber, you should be saying Shira then. And you say Shira Damos, the Eibusher listens, and he brings the Geula and he brings the Yeshua. So the Eibusher will help him, as with our Chizuk of Amunah and B'tochen, and Simcha and Eifim Lechatchila Ariber, through us connecting with our children and infusing in them the koyach of learning and living Mashiachdik, learning in Yoningul Mashiach Berach Yeshara, and giving them the message that Zeizan the Rebbe soldaten and the kinders and the Rebbe's kinder, we will be Zoicha to say Shira together, and we'll be Zoicha to see Mashiach and the Eifim Mamoshi, and like the Rebbe concluded the Sikha in Taket Azriya Mitzayr and Aleph, at that point, because it will be a Dover Mamoshi, we'll be able to untap and unrear, we'll be able to say Shechiyonu, Vikimonu, Vigiyonu, Luzmanazeh, because you can only make Shechiyonu on something which you actually have tangible in front of you, and it will be Higiyonu, like the Alter Rebbe says in the Kututayra of Parsha Shmini, as it's unrear, you'll be able to feel Mashiach, touch Mashiach, L'chaim, L'chaim, Livracha.
So now, we see, you heard the words, Rabbi Greenbaum, my wonderful Menaya. It's the children, ultimately, in their schus. Yipi Olulim B'Yonki. Yisada Torah is the man Tzorerecha. Har bis Oye Vum Misnaki. Taya Shluchim. We are going to Lechatchila, and we see, besitz nothing goes. And we turn to the Eibishter, we say, Eibishter, Eibishter, what do you want from us? Our Rebbe is with us. The children are with us. You have promised us. Rebbe Yiftiach, Rebbe Yikaim. You have promised us that this will be the case, we'll be going out of Golos. You promised us, so sign So'edim B'Shekel of today's of Torah. You promised us, we believe, and the children believe more than anyone else does. So we cry out to Hashem. The Lechatchila Ariber didn't work, but the Rebbe gave us the Korach Ariber Unayim. So we go now over the top of the Lechatchila Ariber, with our Amunah, with our Simcha, with our B'tochim, with the wonderful Kinderlach, with our wonderful Shluchim. It's going to happen. Let's make it happen now. The Simcha of the Tuv Leva. I'd like to ask Abba Permuta, a voice of Simcha, of a wonderful Shliach, to address us, please.
I don't really know what to add to all of these wonderful speakers that preceded me, but maybe since the topic is, of course, the Lechatchila Ariber, maybe just for a few minutes, I'll relate my relationship to Lechatchila Ariber. I grew up in Montreal, Canada, the Holocaust parents. They put me into Lubavitcher Yeshiva. My father was not a Lubavitcher. I heard about Lechatchila Ariber my entire life. The teachers, the Mashiyim, counselors in camp talked about Lechatchila Ariber. I never knew what Lechatchila Ariber meant. What does it mean, Lechatchila Ariber? So one time, one of the Mashiyim, or one of my counselors, began to explain, what does Lechatchila Ariber mean? Lechatchila Ariber means there's a table. Look at the table. The whole world figures that go under, but when there's no place to go under, jump over the table. But the Rebbe Marash, he wanted that every Lechatchila Ariber jump over the table. That was the explanation that we were given about Lechatchila Ariber. Okay, as a young guy, I took it. I didn't know why the Rebbe Marash would want us to jump over a table, but nonetheless, you know what? This was what Chabad wanted, and I was captured now by Chabad. Even though my parents were not Chabadniks, I was captured. So I sang the tune, Lechatchila Ariber, wherever you went, Lechatchila Ariber, Lechatchila, but never really understood what Lechatchila Ariber really means. How does this apply to one's life, really, Lechatchila Ariber? So I went till Bashlochapatis, I saw in the early years, gave Lechatchila Ariber with a marshal. What marshal did the Rebbe give? He said, when it comes to a manal of a yeshiva, of a day school, of any meisid. So the ganze Welt, what do? They make a cheshbon of how much money they have, And then they figure, according to the budget, this is how many kids they're going to let into the school. But Lechatchila Ariber month. But no, you go do a different way. Know how many kids are in your city, and how many kids you have to give chinuch to, and how many kids you have to put into your school. You don't have the money. Das meint Lechatchila Ariber, Ariber will take care of it. Now I saw the sikha. Now I had opened up my eyes, and now I saw, this is the application of what Lechatchila Ariber means to my daily life. So I made a very quick hachlata. Near maintenance. Rebbe's not talking to me. And make me to a kid from Montreal whose father was a Baal Cheshbon, a quiet man. Lechatchila Ariber maintenance. Them in Mainter, Rabbi Kunin. He means Rabbi Kunin. And his gang, his guys. But the Abba Perlmutter, who comes from a man who was very, very, very quiet. Those Shluchim that grew up in Montreal remember my father and my mother, Holocaust survivors, who the biggest day of my father's life, the biggest joy of my father's life is when Rabbi Kramer, the Menal of the Meistes in Montreal, gave my father the key to the mikveh. Because my father used to come 5:15 to the mikveh, and he trusted my father, and he knew that my father is not going to steal anybody's pants. This was the happiest day of my father's life. He became the Baal Mafteya. He got. But Abba Perlmutter, who comes from this stock, a Baal Cheshbon, then Baal Cheshbon, and Mustama, my elder Zayd also was a Baal Cheshbon, who lived very, very securely with caution. When we came to the bank, when my father would take me as a kid to the bank, he wouldn't let me speak to him. In a bank, you don't speak to people. In a bank, you do business. Shah. So this is how I grew up. So when I saw the sikha about Lechatchila Ariber, I thought to myself, this is Nishlam here. It's not a guy. You're a guy that's cautious. You're a guy that likes safety. And that's the way I've been living my life. You know what? From time to time, of course, we come to a challenge. There have their challenges. So when those challenges come, you suck it up and you jump. But Lechatchila Ariber, to live a life Lechatchila Ariber, no. This is for big revolutionaries, for people that break walls. This is for people that build empires. For a small guy from Montreal, your job is Kalim the Tikkun. I used to tell you, that's the Rebbe Mont. The Rebbe Mont, das Sachen. Das kommen la Meile, at mir sagen, Perlmutter, was ist mit Lechatchila Ariber? I have an answer. I was a shliach in California. Rabbi Kunin was yaitze for the whole state. For the ganze state, I am a shliach of Rabbi Kunin. I'm holding on to his geitel, and he took care of Lechatchila Ariber, Ariber, for everybody. I already had an answer for the malachim up there as well. And Baruch Hashem, we've had a great run. The economy was going good here in California. We had good programs. I was able to hire my son. We were working together. Everything was going great. And I was living a life of caution, not jumping. Ich darf nicht springen. Ich darf nicht tanzen. Baruch Hashem, everything was going well. Rabbis Machshavas Belevish, a men's track, aber der Eibischte vierte Welt, what shows up? Coronavirus. And coronavirus, in 1 minute, everything turned over. Everything that we planned, everything we had programs planned, we had a big Pesach program planned, everything that we did, cautiously, the Kalim the Tikkun, everything that we did, kaput, out the window, gone. And not only is it gone, but the stock market and the financial world that we were so banking on, that we were happy, finished, goodbye, out the door. So what does a guy that lives in Kalim the Tikkun do? Now I have no choice. Ein brera. Now everybody's Lechatchila Ariber. Now the Baal Cheshbon, the guy that always knew exactly, you know what, this is what I have, and this is where we go, and this is how we do. Now I'm afraid to make a cheshbon, because if I make a cheshbon of how much money my Balabatim lost this past month, I could put myself in a Mishavayim Hoyas. Because I'm a big believer in Rabbi Kunin's thing of calling Balabatim. I'm old school, I use the phone, I call, and the last few weeks, it hasn't been much pleasure calling. So now everything that we do, everything that I do is Lechatchila Ariber. If I have to go fundraise now, which I then, it's Lechatchila Ariber. It's no more, there's no more unter. The unter that I was so protected in, that under the table that I was going for a rainy day and all of that, that's gone. That's history. There's no more unter. Even if we wanted to go unter, even if a guy like me, the most safest, cautious guy in the world, wants to go unter, it's gone. There's no more of that. Now, even me, a guy that, a small kid from Montreal, is living Lechatchila Ariber. I got to go pick up a phone and still make the same phone calls. I still got to go raise the same money. I still got to do the same programs. It's a different format. Now it's a different world. It's a whole different world. But I see something fantastic. I see something unbelievable. Because we are Shluchim of the Rebbe and we are attached to the Rebbe, even in this day and age, even in this time, that it doesn't look light outside and it's tough, and my balabatim are suffering, and people are hurting, and Rahman al-Islam, there is tragedies in families. Within that, there is a light. And I see, I'll give you two small little stories. There was a Yid that called me there at Pesach, Rabbi, I need tefillin. I've been trying to get this guy to do, but Erev Pesach, he said, because the Maimon and Matzav, I need tefillin. So I immediately called Moshe Klein's office. He got me a pair of tefillin. They came on Chol HaMoed. I put him on tefillin on Chol HaMoed, and I can't promise you that he did not put on tefillin on Yom Tov. Well, maybe he put on tefillin on Yom Tov. I trained this man. I've been trying so hard to get him close, and yet only this Maimon and Matzav and Lechatchila Ariber Dikavel, this man calls me and says, Rabbi, I need you, please get me a pair of tefillin. Another story is a few of my own balabatim, guys by themselves, members of our shul, started a Zoom minion in the morning. The guys, they put on tefillin. I don't know what they do, but they put on tefillin. They say a few davenings. Another man in my shul who had a son estranged, weit von Yiddishkeit. It came the first night Pesach. He tells me they sat down together. His son put on a yarmulke. They had a beautiful seder together. Within this darkness, within whatever we're seeing around the world that's happening, there are beautiful stories of Lechatchila Ariber. Even Friday, when I was making the phone calls and it wasn't going that well, to be honest with you, the last guy that I called said, Rabbi, I need to see you. I said, it's Erev Shabbos. I didn't want to see him. I'm isolating myself. No, he insisted. Well, I said, okay. So we drove by and I met him outside. He handed me a check for a few $1,000. I didn't ask him because I knew it was my matzah were. These little rays of hope tell me that, you know what? You go Lechatchila Ariber. Don't think too much. Don't analyze too much. Even a guy like you can also go Lechatchila Ariber. And when we do this, there's no limit to what's going to happen. I just want to finish with Rabbi Kuna that mentioned in the beginning about the Haftarah of Mitzvah about Gehazi and his sons. It's an interesting thing if you look at the story that the Yeshua to Gehazi and his sons came already before the people in the Shema knew it. The Arameans, the army of Aram ran away. They left. They were gone. They left. Gehazi knew it. His sons knew it. The Eibishter picked these guys who were chutz lamachne. They were not the Rosh Hashivas of the world. They were not the Goinim of the world. They were these guys, these Mitzrayim, the Eibishter picked, to be able to bring the Yeshua to the town. The people in the city didn't even know that the Yeshua happened. They didn't know. They were still thinking the Melech was so afraid. He only sent 2 of his 5 horses. I believe the same thing is true now. The Yeshua is here. The Yeshua is here. The Rabbeinu Shloim is not going to let us go without the Yeshua. We need to just get it done like the people in Shomron did. The Mashiach is on the way. Mashiach is on the way. And I'll just conclude with a sikha that the Rebbe said, Shabbos Mevorchim Shvat Tovshin Lamed Beis, that he mentioned in a sikha over there about Parshas Va'era, that the Rabbeinu Shloim sent Moshe Rabbeinu, and he tells them, go tell the Eden, we're here. Mashiach, we're out. We're finished. By Tesi, I'm taking them out of Mitzrayim. And he tells them, Dalit L'Shoyne Shel Gula. Moshe goes. What was the reaction? L'Shomu al Moshe. They didn't listen to him. So the Rebbe says like this. The Rebbe says, Moshe went to the Rabbeinu Shalom and he told him, Rabbeinu Shalom, why are you loading on them Dalit L'Shonis Shel Geula? Why are you bothering them with Dalit L'Shonis? To fast the Murbalai to fasta. Tell them one Lashon Shel Geula. Tell them Vayitzeisi. I'll take you out. What do you have to keep telling them? Vayitzeisi, V'Tzalti, V'Ga'alti, V'Lakachti. Why do you have to say so much? Don't give them so much. The Rabbanis answers Moshe Rabbeinu, Reb Moshe, my dear friend, my beloved Navi, not only will you tell them about the Dalit L'Shonis, but tell them also the Hevesi, that not only am I going to take them out of Mitzrayim, but Hevesi, I'm going to bring them to Eretz Yisrael. And Rebbe Teich starts the Eiro that nodded that he in the past went to Avram, Yitzchak, and Yankov, but in the future, the Eiro to every one of us. And the Rebbe said then that when we want to talk to somebody, don't worry about it. Say the Dalit L'Shonis Shel Geula. Give them everything and include the Evesi. What happened at the end? The Yidden went out of Mitzrayim. They went into Eretz Yisrael. They built the Beis Hamikdash. He made taste from Eretz Yisrael and then in the floors, just like we saw in the floors then. We should see the Lakachti, and the Aitzalti, Vayitzeisi from this bitter Golus, and the final day Evesi. Take us to Yerushalayim, Yerakodesh, Mashiach, Tzidkenu, the Karev Mamish now. A good to know.
Such a pleasure to listen to Rabbi Perlmutter, who finally became a Lechatchila Aribernik. Finally became a Lechatchila Aribernik, which is wonderful. And the point is a very important point. What do you say? And that is, be strong. Don't give up for a second. Oh, if I'm going to call this Balabas, or what's he going to tell me? Or what's this one's going to say? I found out in the paper he lost 30 million. What are you afraid to call him for? Call him on the phone and say, I really want to thank you so much for your support in the future. And one thing I want to tell you, whatever you gave us is always safe. Never subject to loss. The greatest investment, Jewish kids, greatest investment, a senior citizen that's all alone, that you have to help, a homeless person. Those funds were never ever lost and never ever will be lost. They eternally belong to you. I'd like to again call the young Begun Shluchim to give us a Farbrengen.
Ay 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 diram ay 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 diram ay 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 ay
All right? I want to thank the young Rabbi Biguz and introduce a wonderful friend, a wonderful shliach, who has touched the lives of so many hundreds of thousands of people around the globe, Rabbi Moshe Brisky.
A good vach. Thank you, Rabbi Kinnan, for this Farbrengen tonight. Thank you to all the speakers that spoke. Words of chizuk, words of inspiration. The Beis year, Farbrengen every year, was something we all look forward to for the words of chizuk, for the words of inspiration, sometimes for the war stories that Rabbi Kinnan shared with all of us. It was a very powerful evening. Remember, I'm sure Rabbi Kinnan remembers, and many other Shluchim remember the year when some financial miracles happened. Rabbi Kinnan shared it with us, not just in words, but in checks as well. This was always a very special Farbrengen for us. And the theme of Lechatchila Ariber is really what Shlichus is all about, and specifically California Shlichus has always been about. This year is no different. In fact, this year we need the message even more. The message of Lechatchila Ariber and the message of Chizuk, we need it so much more. A short anecdotal story that I share quite often is a story I heard from 1998, the New York City Marathon. And there was a woman who ran the marathon. Her name was Zoe Kaplowitz. She had multiple sclerosis. She could only walk with 2 crutches, one step at a time. And there she is on the starting line of the New York City Marathon on a cold November day. And she was determined to finish the race. How can someone with 2 crutches finish a race? Well, she did it one step at a time. And she ended up finishing the race in 31 hours and 15 minutes, literally going a full 24 hours plus some. And she finished the race, and they asked her, why did you do this? Well, what was the importance? You obviously came in very, very last. And she said, sometimes in life you're given a television set, and you get to a channel and there's static. You have a choice. You can sit there on the couch and just watch the static, or you can get up and change the channel. My motto in life is to get up every single day and change the channel. It's a very simple message that we can't be satisfied. As much as we've accomplished, as much as we have done, we have to continue to do more and more and more. And this is Lechatchila Ariber. We can't get up in the morning and say, wow, we've done tremendous work, and let's sit back on our laurels a little bit and enjoy it. There has to be more. We have to think big. We have to think bold. And we have to be daring. 6 weeks ago, the world as we knew it changed. A whole new world. For us, no open shuls, no open minyanim, no live classes, no person-to-person mitzayim in the flesh by visiting people. And yet we knew we can't sit back. We can't just wait for this to end and sit this out. We needed to change the channel. And in a matter, literally, once this started, in a matter of hours, every Batei Chabad literally rebuilt itself, changed itself, literally within hours. We were learning something called Zoom.com. For some of us, we never heard this word. Zoom was like Zoom. That's all we knew of it. Nitamol, Zoom became part of our lives. And Zoom, everything, classes and davening in the morning and afternoon davenings, and WhatsApp groups and then Facebook live groups and YouTube live groups. All of a sudden, we became these tech experts and learning everything, mostly from our children and our grandchildren that taught us what these words meant. But think how we have, literally in hours, lectures and challah and Hebrew schools and C-team programs and concerts and rallies and Farbrengen after Farbrengen after Farbrengen. we launched this week. Our spring semester always starts right after Pesach, and we launched it. We have never had such a sign up in a semester before, ever. The spring semester, we would be always satisfied. You get a dozen people to sign up for a class, 2 dozen to sign up for a class, sometimes 3 dozen to sign up. We're looking at registrations of over 100 students for classes because people are home, people are searching, people are yearning, people want answers, people want to devote themselves to ruchnius, to spirituality, and they know they're going to get their answers from our shluchim. And this is not just here by us, this is happening by every single Chabad house across the country, across the world. Think about the Lechatchila Ariber. Think about how we have changed the channel, how we've thought big and bold and daring. Literally, how many millions of Yidden just in the last 6 weeks alone have been in touch or involved with the Batei Chabad. Think for a moment. And yes, we can pat ourselves on the back for a moment or two, but there can't be any complacency. We have to continue doing this. We have to continue to go ahead and face the challenge in front of us and go onwards and upwards until we fulfill the mission, the ultimate mission of the Lechatchila Ariber, to bring the world to a state of Mashiach Tzidkenu. It should happen speedily in our days. The Eibusher should heal and give a refuah to all those that need a refuah. The Eibusher should protect all of us, our families, and Klal Yisrael and Eretz Yisrael. And the Eibusher should have Rahmanas on his world and see the work of Lechatchila Ariber that we've been doing and grant us the mission statement that we've had from day number 1, the ultimate Lechatchila Ariber, the coming of Mashiach Tzidkenu, which should happen speedily in our days. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very, very much, Rabbi Brisky. It's such an inspirational message for all Shluchim to see. Use every keli lekon that you have, every single keli lekon, every empty vessel you have. Figure it out, use it, implement it. The simcha of a Tov Levav. My pleasure to introduce Rabbi Yossi Dalfin, a wonderful, wonderful young shliach, actually, a grandson of ours, to share some of the fiery inspiration of the new shlichus in his community.
Thank you very much, Zaidi. I also see my shver, Rabbi Hecht, and my uncle, Reb Shia, was here before, and connected to all the shluchim here. A gute Woche. I, first of all, would love to share a word of the Rebbe, in Chelik Chav Zayin, Parshas Mitzayra. The Rebbe says the beautiful story that happened with the Frierdiker Rebbe. In the 1940s, the Frierdiker Rebbe in America, he asked one of the Balabatim, one of the Chassidim, to print the Tshuvos of the Tzemach Tzedek. And this Chassid couldn't afford it, but he committed to sponsor the Tshuvos of the printing of the Tzemach Tzedek. And a few days or weeks later, this Chassid's business picked up, and he became an usher, and he was able to fulfill his pledge. And the Frierdiker Rebbe says, and he brings out this nekuda, that when someone makes a pledge, when someone makes a commitment, the lashon of the Rebbe is na yitzinoires, new tzinoires, new channels of brachis open up for that person. I think it's a very interesting sikha connected to Lechatchila Ariber. We always speak about the nekuda going Lechatchila Ariber over the top and to push ourselves l'mayla mitan the das. But this nekuda, that when a yid acts Lechatchila Ariber, the Eibusher is going to help them fulfill and able to come through with what he started with na yitzinoires. I think it's just a beautiful connection to a story, a Ma'aser Rav, that the Rebbe put Lekutei Sichos in this past parsha with Beis Ear. I would say any shliach that goes down befrat to the West Coast, it's Lechatchila Ariber dike zach. It's expensive. You take a guy that's in Koilel and Crown Heights, and he starts to come to the West Coast, and he's hit with so much the price difference, but with no credit because he just started to get involved in the world. So I had a beautiful Maisa this Yud Beis Tammuz. I'm celebrating 4 years on Shlichus. And when we moved there, the African-American driving the 18-wheeler was taking our stuff off. And I was telling him that I moved there to open up a Chabad. It's a big jump. It's very expensive. And he tells me it's a true Maisa. He says, wait 1 second. He goes to his 18-wheeler. He brings out a picture of the Rebbe. And he says, this man, you're working for him. He's going to take care of you and everything will be beautiful. It's a Maisa that happened. My Zayder Rabbi Kidon always likes to say there's two people. There's some types of people that believe and there's people that don't believe. If we believe the Rebbe is with us and the Rebbe is going to guide us, he could take a young shliach that's starting out and he'll send his movers to show him a picture of the Rebbe and tell him that you're going to Lechatchila Ariber. You're starting. It's not just me. It's everyone on this Zoom and befrat the younger Shluchim that are starting, that are starting a new area that weren't brought down specifically by another shliach to start supporting them. It's Lechatchila Ariber. We have to know that the Rebbe says in this week's parsha, in this sicha, as Nayitz and Nidis will be open, and Baruch Hashem, thank you to the Eibush and to the Rebbe. We see tremendous hatzlacha. I want to wish everyone a lot of bracha and hatzlacha, and only kol toiv sela. Amen. Yasher koyach.
L'chaim, l'chaim, l'chaim. Thank you, Anikel. So beautiful, so inspirational. L'chaim. What we should do now, everybody, is close our eyes for 1 minute. First of all, we say L'chaim. I wanted to tell you, I want to share with you for a second, then we'll sing the Lechatchila Ariber, the story of the Weinberg story. So, when things were very, very bad, the Rebbe says the Eibush will take care of everything. The Eibush said, outside some. I went with my son, Rabbi Mendel. We were both in New York in the streets stopping people. Excuse me, I need from you $18 million. With the Muna Pshuta, right? So then, all of a sudden, the answer appears apparent. What is it? Oh, this gentleman shows up, was after the fire. We're taking people in need of shelter to our home on Veteran Avenue on the 2nd floor. And comes, make a very long story short, we helped him, and then you could see he was very, very sophisticated. We were building the yeshiva, and he started to talk, and he tells a story that he is a multi-millionaire with private planes, living in Alaska. And his wife and daughter said, let's go, Dad, to Seattle, we'll fly together. He said, I'm 2 times, why don't you take the plane with the daughter? I'll meet you there afterwards. Plane went down. I lost everything, I have nothing now. I have all the money in the world. I'm gonna pay for every single thing that you owe. And this went on, and we're ordering computers, and who knows what. The Rebbe's nest, Yechi, it's here, it's upon us, it's happened. Make a long story short, it gets closer and closer. It's gonna come tomorrow, send a wire. Finally, I thought something was wrong. We know the Rebbe's gonna make it happen, but something is wrong. Sure enough, I call him in. We have a L'chaim fight, and I say, if you're real good, if not, do me a favor, just disappear. Because I know the Rebbe is going to help us. He's showing us how he can help us with you. So if you're real, do it. If not, c'est la vie. Bye. Then I come to the Rebbe. The Rebbe's been kept up to date, everything that's going on, all of his promises, all the banks knew already. It's here, it's upon us, it's here. Then comes to nothing. Nothing, period. Okay. So I go by the Rebbe, by the dawn, on a Friday. The Rebbe gives me a nickel, and the Rebbe says, oh, 5 million. This is for the 5 million that you were supposed to get. Okay, we go further, it's very difficult. very, very difficult. It's already the beginning of the buildings, the rebuilding of the first Chabad house in the world on a college campus. Which the Rebbe said to Marvin Goldsmith, the key to which Chabad house is this? And then ultimately, he says, which Chabad house is this? And Marvin said, there's only one. The Rebbe said, don't be so humble. It'll spread from the west to the north, which was ultimately Berkeley, from the north to the south, which was ultimately the Eagle, finally to the east where we really need it. So now, okay, we believe it's going to happen. We know what's going to happen. And meanwhile, things are very tight. All the banks feel let down. The few Balabatim we had left feel let down. All of a sudden, the person walks into my office, already in the new building, which was very, very bare, the walls and et cetera. So walks in. He says, I'm here. This is my card, says the receptionist. Renee Sadoun, Citicorp. Make a very long story short, I'm taking over this organization, the Gashmias. You're going to do the spiritual things. I'm going to run the business aspect. What do you know about that? And I'm going to take care of all of it. We get $10 million from the Citigroup. And all of a sudden, people come from Citigroup with their banking satchels, and they're coming and coming and coming and coming and coming. Meanwhile, things are getting worse and worse and worse, and he's hiring people. We checked them out. But Weissov Hashem said, Shloim Elah, that is richtig. He is real. 7 secretaries he has. Everything good and fine. And every time we're pushing off, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. All the banks, everybody happy, and everybody happy. And one day, he's in fully charge of the entire financial side of Chabad. And now we're going to go to the Rebbe. So, flying to the Rebbe, it was Purim, the same year Rabbi Zalman Shimon Dworkin passed away before Purim. I remember the year. And we come, first time and only time I sat behind the Rebbe by Farbrengen. And here we go. And I take him over to the Rebbe, which I'm very uncomfortable to be sitting behind the Rebbe. Das ist der Renei Sadun, was geht raten in the Rebbe's Moses. This is the Renei Sadun who's going to save the Rebbe's institutions. The Rebbe looks at him and says, may you have a peaceful life. I said to myself, uh-oh, here we go again. The man saving everything. May you have a peaceful life. So quickly we sit down. I said, Renee, you don't look good. Come with me. Come with me. I take him by the arm, right away off this. I said, I think you should get into your limousine and go home. His wife was upstairs. And my daughter Chanala was upstairs with her. I think it's time for you to go. And by the way, I'm going to have to go home a day earlier. Come a day earlier, come back to Chabad house. I see them, said, don't talk to these people. But the head lady comes with it. I walked in and said, so how's our grant coming along with the 10 million? When do you think it's going to happen? She looks at me and says, grant? Who's talking about a grant? We're talking about lending you $10 million. If you can get your Weintraub, I'll show him Dr. Hammer to sign. See if I can get them to sign. What do I need you for? Now we're in trouble. Okay? He comes back next day with his red tie, like this, and everybody was seated there in the conference room, and he would have his speeches already. And as he walks in, I said, so how is our grant coming along? The grant is doing fine. And I looked at him in front of all of my staff who were there and said, you know something, Renee? You're in control of everything. It's over. The Rebbe sent you to me to show me how the miracle could come. Now he says, no, you're going to see. I said, no, you're going to see. I took him by his red tie and my conference room door opens up right next to the door of 5 flights of stairs going down. I said, "You're gonna get out of here? You're gonna get out of here. Don't ever come back again. The Rebbe's gonna make it happen. This is take 2. Next morning, I always sing in the morning, I couldn't. I go up, I call upstairs to Rabbi Goner, Rabbi on the line. I said, I'm a soldier. I just got to say what's going on in the field. And I started to cry. This is the second time. Everybody's upside down. The organization is upside down completely. And then Rabbi Goner says, the Rebbe says, to call back in 5 minutes. Call back in 5 minutes. You could hear the Rebbe overriding the discussion with Rabbi Chodegam. Weist, the Sipur, from the Isha Achas, to I know the story of Isha Achas and Elisha, right? The wife of Avadia. I said, yes, which is the story of empty vessels. What type of, when she went to Elisha after her husband had died, he said, what do you have? She said, I only have a little bit of oil. Well, bow, empty pots and pans, keep pouring. And that was the miracle there. And as Bakant, I said, yes, I am, even Bakant. What's what Akeli make you must? What type of empty vessels do you have? I have wine trap. You could hear the Rebbe say. Hammer. I'll take full-page ads in the newspaper. Whatever I said, the Rebbe said, So I said, ich habe 2 gesunde Fies. Ich will gehen auf die Fies, bis ich will gefunden dem Nächsten. I have 2 healthy feet. I will go on my feet till I find the miracle. And then comes, of course, the message. At geweint as geschrien, you cried so much, and you screamed so much. Why didn't they ask a bracha for the liberation of the Rebbe's Sforim? And me, I said, but there was all gleich alles Sforim, something crazy. You can hear the Rebbe say, Amen, which is the same bracha we started tonight's Farbrengen with. It's the same bracha we're finishing it with. And what kind of kelim making do we have? So we started to knock on doors and here and there. There wasn't a little lady in an old age home. So a woman called her Mee Weinberg, who was a woman in her 50s or 60s, married to a multi-gazillionaire. Knocked on the door. She had sent $10,000 to a telethon the year before. Knocked on the door. William Weinberg was her husband's name, the Kahala Hilton in Hawaii. And she says, you don't want to, I never go myself. I went with another one of my Shluchim. We came into the house. She said, you don't want to see me. I have nothing. My husband's divorcing me. He's taking everything away from me. Here's his private number. I said, no, we want to see you. We sit and talk, try to give a hope for a few hours to put 2 of us together, never alone when you go to visit people. And she said, I wish I had your faith. I wish I had your faith. I don't have the strength. I came probably a few weeks later or a month later to deliver an invitation to Rabbi Bigun, who spoke earlier in this Farbrengen, to his wedding with our daughter Esti. Delivered the invitation, got back a beautiful note. I wish I had that faith. Here's $250 for the young couple. Shortening a long story, the Shabbos before the Offer finish, Shabbos of the Offer finish, Thursday night, of Rabbi Bigun, I get a call. A woman died and left you 1/3 of her estate. It was a long battle for years, but this was the battle. It finished after Chav Bei Shvat, with all the answers from the Rebbe during Shiva, what to accept, what not to accept. And that's the miracle of Kelim Rekim Al Tamiti. Create the Kelim Rekim. 2 gesunde Fies. Pick yourself up. Go. make the calls, make the Zoom, and make Kaden Reiki by the Eberste. And say, Eberste. Gewalt geschrieben. Lechatchila Ariber ohne Ariber. Und man sitzt noch in Golos. It has to end. When we're singing, everybody unmute yourselves. When we're singing Lechatchila Ariber. And then we'll see a video of the Rebbe. We should be dancing with the Rebbe in Yerushalayim in HaKodesh. From Heilig Yameinu Amen. L'chaim, l'chaim,
The mutual friend with one more friend.
Ja, das works. Nee, sweet. Yeah, it's just really sweet. Put it in a box of the song.
suscho choydecho.
Come on.
And it's to be Lechatchila Ariber, und Ariber. Hat mir geholfen zu Geula. Geula nicht so ein Schlemmer. Läufen von Lechatchila Ariber. Ja, wenn ich alleine. Und ich gehe nur mehr her. Von den Mios und Zeno. Thank you, Ben, alle Shluchim. Thank you all so much for a wonderful days here for Farbrengen. I'd like to thank Rabbi Levi Tunin, Rabbi Malibu, for helping us out, putting this whole beautiful program together, and all the participants. Thank you, Zund. A gute freiliche Woche, a gute Woche.
Von Binyan Beis Hamikdash, von Churban Beis Hamikdash, Churban Beis Hamikdash, das hat aber nimscher. Es ist nicht der Pshat, dass der Beis Hamikdash Chorb geworden mit Karge 2000 Jahre zurück. Und von damals hat man an der Welle sich schon. Bei der Fahrer, sie kommt Tischebov und die 3 Wochen, bei Kajitze, bei der Bechol Jem, sagt man, dass sehr in einem mit Spalla, alle Gjule, Bechule. Aber sagt es hat getroffen, mit Herren 900 Jahren zurück, sagt er, nein, aber der Chit, der Schulen bis Hamikdash, ist das Bechol Jem, wo Jem, bemählt davon verstandig, was es darf sein, der Geschrei, ad Mose Bechol Jem, wo Jem. Und sagt er, dass ich gerade befähigt in Jerusalem. Das steht in Jerusalem, ja, kol mi, sheli nivna bis Hamikdash bismane, is kilo chore bis Hamikdash bismane. Durchgegangen 1900 Jahre. Ist noch gar nicht. Gebaut aber jem Chamishi Parche Pinchas. Und schon lachert viele Schleier. Der Leben nivna bis Hamikdash darf im Wissen sein, dass es darf sein, der Geschrei. Aber der Gejulu, Kiyilu Choro Beyem Chamishi Parche Pinchas. Und wie bald war sie noch am nächsten geschrien hat Mose. Und nicht nächsten geschrien hat Mose. Und Kola Yom Shelifni sei geschrien hat Mose. Danach Rachman al-Islam, Choro Beis Hamikdash. Heint in der Früh oder heint bei Tag, ist er von verstandig, was es darf sein, der Geschrei, ad Mose Yitzre. Bekommen es nicht ein von Abschätzung, dass Allah in Teire. Als in Teire steht, Mischel, niemand bis Hamikdash beyond. Ist Kiili Kach wie Kach. Stellt mir sich vor, Bishaas, was Nisra Beis Hamikdash. Und dabei steht da Jid, was ist ein harter Ried, ein strenger Ried mit allem, wo Und seht, was ist der Chore bis Hamikdash beyond. Wollte sich gekehrt der Welt. Sagt Teiras Hermes und Teiras Chaim, ihr Roba Chaim, kehr der Welt heim.